Printr raised $2 million in a public presale in just under 24 hours, but they refunded every single dollar back. It was not a hack, not a smart contract failure, they actually chose to do it. Well, it was not much of a choice because the community was upset and the founder actually had to step down in that same day, but we'll get into that later. I have been following Printr for a while. I used the platform, read through the docs, watched tokens launch on it in real time, and sat through the entire drama that unfolded this past week. And today, I wanted to give you a review of Printr as a launchpad, show you how it works, talk about their questionable public sale, and show you my thoughts on Printr token price prediction. Before we get into the video, nothing here is financial advice. This is research only and personal opinion. Crypto is risky and you are responsible for your own decisions. Now let's get into it. I first came across Printr when it was still in early mode before the token sale, before there was much to look at. What pulled me in was a simple fact. Printr was an omni-chain token launchpad, mostly memes, backed by Bybit Ventures and raised about $4.5 million. So I thought that this is Bybit's official competition to pump fund, and since Bybit is a large centralized exchange, Printr was worth to look at. And plus, it was shiny and new, so it should spawn some runners. The platform itself lets anyone create and launch a token across multiple blockchains at the same time. Solana, Base, BNB Chain, Ethereum, Mantle, Avalanche, Arbitrum, and more, all from a single interface. Whereas Pump Fund only has Solana, for example. Now, this is good because meme trends happen on multiple chains, not just Solana, but most prevalently on Solana. It can also happen on Ethereum and BNB Chain or Base, so having multiple chains makes sense. Behind the project are three co-founders. We have Fed, known on X as Master Printr, was the original CEO and the public face of the project. He has stepped down as CEO and now acting as an advisor. We have Lennon, the COO and head of GTM, has just taken over as CTO, and Leah remains CTO and the co-founder. Now, I will come back to the leadership situation in a little bit. On the funding side, Printr raised $4.5 million across 2 rounds. A $2.5 million pre-seed came from Acceler, Sui Foundation, Flow Blockchain, Drabble Dragon, and Bitscale Capital. That was followed by a $2 million seed extension including Mantle Eco Fund, Miranda Ventures, L1D, and Flowdesk. Right, so what does Printr have that's different from other launchpads? Now, the first real differentiator is the omnichain architecture. Printr V2 launched across 8 chains simultaneously. If you are locked into a single network and the volume moves, well, you simply miss it, and Printr is not locked. That structural flexibility is a genuine long-term advantage that Pump Fund or 4Meme do not have currently. Second is proof of belief. This is their most creative feature and the one that I find genuinely interesting, even if the execution has gaps that I will address later. Now, when a creator launches a token, they have the option to stake a portion of it on-chain as a signal of conviction. Traders can see that stake in real time through transparent dashboard with multiplier tiers, all verifiable on-chain. Traders can also lock their meme tokens as well if they truly believe in the project. Now, by locking these tokens, they earn a share of the trading fees. The reason I find this idea compelling is that it attacks the root cause of rug pulls directly. Launching a token costs almost nothing and requires zero commitment. So that's why we see millions of memes spawning through Pump Fund. Now, Proof of Belief tried to change that by asking creators to put something real on the line alongside their community. The system also includes a 48-hour ticker cooldown to block copycats tokens from cannibalizing new launches. Very good. So the concept is genuinely original in its space. Whether it works in practice, though, is a different question, and I will get into that when we look at the actual numbers. And the third different point is the 5 configurable fee models. Creators can choose buyback and burn, where customers' fees create continuous buy pressure on the token, or they can choose liquidity compounding, where fees deepen the trading pool on every transaction, or they can route 100% of custom fees to stakers through full proof of belief staking that I mentioned. They can also send fees directly to any creator wallet, or they can remove custom fees entirely for lower cost trading, which Pump Fund doesn't have. And the final point is that cross-chain buying in one transaction. I have personally missed runners because they launch on a different chain that I was not familiar with and I was not prepared, so I did not have any assets bridged in time. Printr handles the routing in the background, so you just buy. That is the real friction point being solved. The only requirement is that the memes have to be created on Printr Launchpad. So, looking at the product overall, I think Printr is genuinely well built. Not well built in the way marketing says something is well built, but actually have innovative features that make traders and creators feel better. But good infrastructure doesn't automatically produce a healthy system, as you know. And after looking at the numbers, I think Printr has a long way to go. So let's look at the numbers. While the platform is solid, the stats are a bit mixed. It's great at first, but just like any new launchpads, they slowly decline. Since Printr V2 launched on April 14th, it climbed to the 3rd rank among Solana launchpads on DeFi Llama and number 1 rank on overall market mindshare. So very good news. It also peaked at 8% market share in just 2 weeks of launch, $200 million in total volume. But context is everything here. At its peak, Pump Fund was doing nearly $500 million in a single day in terms of volume. Even now, it still generates around 67 million daily volumes and controls about 95% of token graduations on Solana. It also has brought back over $360 million worth of its own token Pump on open market. Pump currently trades at around $1.8 billion in fully diluted volume. I'm going to come back to that $1.8 billion number in the price prediction section because it is the most important data point in this entire video, so keep that in mind. Now, the number that actually concerns me the most right now is the token survival rate. Fewer than 1% of tokens across major launchpads survive past their bonding curve out of 11.5 million tokens created in just 2025. I watched launches on Printr closely over several days. The pattern was the same every time. Strong day one activity, then fade. I specifically looked for tokens where proof of belief was enabled to see if the mechanism changed the outcome. In the cases that I tracked, well, it did not. The tokens still followed the same death curve as everything else. Creators stake a visible portion of supply as a signal, but then the token fades along with everything else on the platform. There are no sustained runners on Printrs as of right now. Not one token I can point to and say that held meaningful value for more than a couple of days. When I looked across the catalog of launches, what I saw was a consistent pattern of quick pumps and quiet rucks. By the time of making this video, there are only 4 tokens above $100,000 market cap and 1 above $1 million. And I'm not even sure that it can stay above 1 million in the future. Its biggest tokens, called Belief, it rocked from $20 million now to below $400,000 in market cap in less than 10 days. The feature that was supposed to differentiate Printr's output from the rest of the launchpad has not done that yet in any way that I can measure. But don't get me wrong, I love the idea, but the volume is just not there. Okay, if you want to launch tokens on Printr, well, here's a quick guide. Go to app.printr.money, the link in the description, and just connect your wallet. Then select your preferred chain. Fill in your token details like name, ticker, image, and description, the basic stuff. Then configure your launch profile. You can use preset economics or build custom bonding curve parameters, including starting market cap, graduation market cap, supply, and liquidity ratio. You can pick one network or deploy across multiple chains at the same time. After that, choose your fee model: buyback and burn, staking rewards, liquidity compounding, direct to creator wallet, or no fees at all. You decide what your token economy looks like from day one. If you want to use proof of belief, you have to enable it and stake a portion of your own tokens. It is optional, obviously, but it changes how your launch appears to traders scanning the dashboard for quote-unquote credible projects. At graduation, liquidity automatically migrates to a DEX and LP tokens get locked. The whole process takes under 5 minutes once you know what you want. The UI is cleaner than most competitors that I have used, and the experience of going from nothing to a live token is generally smooth. Before we get into my thoughts on Printr token, we have to look at a series of questionable events with Printr. The first one is the Fax token incident. A project called Fax approached Fed and told him that they were building a fee share feature on top of Printr as a community contribution to the ecosystem. Fed endorsed it publicly. And remember, at this point, Fed was still the CEO and the actual public face of the project. What Facts actually did was launch a token and farm the users. The community blamed Fed personally, not the bad actors, not the platform. Fed, the ecosystem tokens including Belief, sold off hard in the aftermath. I understand why that happened. Fed was trying to be a good founder and support a builder on his platform, but when you are the public leader of a platform and you publicly endorse something, you absorb the accountability when it goes wrong. Fed may have been a victim of bad actors, but the community doesn't forgive. That event broke something in the relationship between the community and the leadership, because what came next was not one isolated rug, but a pattern. The next drama is Rotis, Noob, and the rug problem. Lenin, the incoming CEO, later named Rotis and Noob as additional damaging launches on the platform that compounded the trust erosion. They were not outliers, they were evidence that Printr's permissionless infrastructure, the same openness that makes it architecturally interesting, was also a surface that bad actors could exploit to borrow the platform's credibility for their own exits. The next big drama is Fed, the CEO resignation under pressure. From the outside, they were raising $2 million in under 24 hours. It looked like a momentum, but from the inside, a founder was breaking. Fed stepped down. His statement was direct enough that I have to read it twice. Mounting stress, deteriorating health, and a sustained volume of threatening and abusive messages from a community blaming him for actions he did not take. Lenin then took over as CEO immediately. Then the final drama is the decision that I think will define how this chapter of Printr is remembered. A full refund of all $2.5 million in community sales funds. Returning $2.5 million as an early stage crypto startup is operationally costly and not guaranteed to repair trust. It is also an acknowledgement that a leadership change alone was not enough. The sale itself had to be reset entirely. The Print token currently has no TGE date, there is no active sale, but Printr is in a full reset with no confirmed timeline for what comes next. So here's my personal take on Printr as a project. The fee sharing mechanism is great, and I think the most defensible part of the Printr story. 2.1 thousand SOL distributed to stakers from actual platform revenue is not nothing, okay? The omnichain architecture as well is a genuine structural advantage. Those two things I will give them credits for. Everything else I find hard to be positive about. The competition problem is not something clever infrastructure can solve. Pump Fund is not just ahead on numbers, it is ahead on market mover, simplicity, and the network effect that comes from being the place where everyone already is. For Printr to take meaningful market share, it needs to produce tokens that people actually want to invest and hold. It has not done that yet. The Launchpad category right now is not a rising tide that lifts all boats. It is a market where users are consolidating around, where there's volume, okay? And Printr doesn't have any. Next is the professionalism, okay? It concerns me more than any single drama event. Okay, I can forgive a team for getting burned by a bad actor once, but what I cannot easily dismiss is a broader history of questionable judgment around project promotions and a community sale that fell too early to even think of. Everything just gives off an untrustworthy vibe. And finally is the token output, which is the most damning evidence. Every launchpad gets judged on what it produces. Printr has produced thousands of tokens, and I cannot find a single one that held meaningful value for more than a couple days. The survival rate matches the industry average, which means all of the infrastructure's sophistication, all of the proof of belief staking, and all the fee model flexibility has not changed the fundamental outcome for token buyers. However, with this new leadership, Lenin, I hope Printr changes for the better. With that said, finally, let's talk about my Print price prediction. In their past sale, Print tokens was raising $2.5 million at $50 million valuation. The argument that I kept saying was that $50 million is cheap because it is below where most retail buys into new tokens. And that is technically true in isolation, but valuation does not exist in isolation. You have to compare it to something real. So let's compare it to Pump Fund, the leading launchpad. Now, Pump token is currently trading at a fully diluted valuation of around $1.8 billion by the time of making this video. That means Pump token is priced at roughly 32 times what Printr was asking at the original sale price. But the key point is this. Pump Fund's revenue isn't just 30x higher than Printr's, it is closer to 100 to 200x higher on a comparable basis. Pump Fund makes about $1 million per day, even in a slow market. But Printr's current fee revenue is only a small fraction of that, about $3,000 to $4,000. So when you compare valuation to revenue, not just FDV alone, the picture then flips. Printr at $50 million FTV is actually more expensive than Pump token at $1.8 billion relative to what each platform earns. So in simple terms, Pump generates far more money for its price, while Printr doesn't. Well, yet. Now, I want to be honest about one thing. This is crypto at the end of the day, so none of this means Print token cannot pump at TGE. Crypto token prices at TGE have essentially no relationship to fundamental valuation in the short term. If the narrative is hot enough and the community is excited enough, well, Print can open well above the sale price, and I would not be surprised. But if you're asking me whether the fundamental value is there to support a $50 million valuation, well, my honest answer is no. Not based on current revenue, not based on current token output quality, not based on the competitive position against Pump.Fund. The price could go up from here for reasons that have nothing to do with fundamentals, but the fundamentals themselves do not justify it at this stage. So if Printr decided to launch their token in 2026 still, my bull case requires multiple things going right simultaneously. First, Memecoin volume has to recover meaningfully across a lot of chains. Lennon, the new CEO, stabilizes the community over several months, and at least one visible token on the platform holding real value and demonstrating proof of belief actually working in practice. And I'm talking hundreds or even billions in terms of market cap. In that environment, with renewed narrative around the reset and a better market backdrop, Print token could open well above the original $50 million FDV sale price and run towards a $100 million in the first week purely on sentiment, okay? But the bear case is more likely to me in this kind of market, all right? Because the volume stays thin, the drama remains recent enough to suppress fresh enthusiasm, no platform success story emerges before the TGE, no tokens going above $100 million FDV. In that case, full unlock at TGE means everyone who waited through the drama can sell immediately. In thin liquidity, that pressure hits hard and Print token could dump to $20 million FTV after launch, okay? And given the revenue comparison with Pump, there is no fundamental floor that would prevent it from going even below $20 million in FTV. And that's it for my video about Printr. Let me know what you guys think about Printr as a launchpad and Print as a token. Comment down below your thoughts and like and subscribe to CryptoNinjas for more contents like this. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Daily out.